You know, folks, got another video for you, another unboxing discussion. This time about Heroes of the Motherland, part of the Lock and Load tactical system by Lock and Load Publishing. I currently had a sale this time of year, at the time of this making of this video, and I picked this up. It was like 40% off, and that was perfect for me. Wasn't sure which game I was going to purchase from them in this system. They have a whole bunch. They have everything from Vietnam, the Falklands conflict, Eastern Front, Western Front, World War II. I decided to go with this one, Heroes of the Motherland, which covers the Eastern Front, World War II, since this is a part of the conflict that I'm got the most interest in at the moment. And plus it looks great. Look at those counters. So yeah, this is my first game from the system. And we're going to check it out. And I hope to get this on the table soon because it looks really fun. I'm watching a lot of videos and gameplays on this and other people's reviews and unboxings. And yeah, it looks like something that would be a nice change of pace for me, considering I'm a big ASL fan, and I don't think that'll ever erode. That'll always be the case. But this looks like a nice change of pace, something that I don't know how far I'll get into it. We're just going to have to see. I'm liking it so far, so there you go. Let's take a look at the back of the box. And it's got some nice artwork going on here. Just look at that sample counters there. There's a lot of counter sheets here. 14 geomorphic 8.5 by 12 and 3/4 inch maps. 5 counter sheets, that's 550 plus counters. Let me bring this up so you can see it here. Color rule book, full color module book for the Eastern Front. Again, full color, folks. I love it. 17 scenarios plus a campaign, which I guess is new to this series, the Lock and Load tactical system. I get a whole bunch of player aid cards, 3 of these and 3 more of those. Plus you get dice, 2 6-siders, which is nice. They're nice dice. Yeah, so you get a lot. This is interesting, the complexity. It's only a 5 out of 10 in complexity. I suppose it can get a little bit more complex as you add more detail to your game, which I'm sure you can do. Solitaire playability, check that out. 3 away from a full 10, folks. Yeah, that's pretty good. And, of course, the artwork is fantastic. And you take a close-up of the counters there. And, yeah, it's a nice, deep box, as I imagine all the main product games in the series are, like Heroes of Normandy, the one for the Falklands, and the Vietnam one, and so on. Probably all come in similar sized boxes as this. There's lots of expansions as well. You could buy much bigger map packs. They have narrative-based scenario books. They have additional scenario expansions for this, all kinds of things. I'll leave a link in the description to Lock and Load Publishing, their website. Check them out. And not only that, they have lots of other stuff too, not just the Lock and Load tactical system. They actually make a lot of different board games and also some digital versions, computer games, basically, that you can also get. And including one for this system, the Lock and Load tactical system. I think it's still being developed, not available yet. But yeah, they are doing that. It is a pretty heavy box. And guess what, folks? We're going to crack it open and see what's going on in here. Again, this is a tactical system, a la Conflict of Heroes, Squad Leader, ASL, and so on and so forth. Here's the dice you get. Again, these are nice dice. They're not the little tiny ones. These are actually pretty nice. So there, you get them. Red and white. I'm not sure if that makes a difference, the color of them, like it does in ASL. Again, I'm very new to this system. And first up, we've got the rule book, version 4.1. Now, this is important, and I'll go into this in a minute. This particular rule book covers World War II, basically 1930 to 1959. And this is important because, depending on the game you purchase, like if you buy one for the Falklands, that's where it covers the more modern era, like the 1980s, the Cold War, Vietnam. They're in a separate rule book. So there's like 2 versions of this. This one covers 39 to 59. And version 4.1. Now, this is important because the full version, the current full version of the rules system is actually version 5. And you can buy that separately. You can buy the book, version 5, separately on the site. And basically, the only difference between this version and any of these 4.1 versions, from what I understand, is that it's basically reorganized, a little restructuring of the layout and that sort of thing. There's no difference in the rules. There's maybe some errata, maybe, that's applied in the version 5 rules. But the biggest difference with version 5 and 4.1 is that version 5 puts the rules for the entire system, no matter the period that it's covering, into one volume. So you're going to get all your rules for Vietnam and the Falklands and the Cold War era, as well as World War II, all in one book. And you can get this as a PDF, and I have it as a PDF myself. But nonetheless, my interest is in the Eastern Front, World War II, so this will suffice, and that's all you really need. Let's check it out. Full color, as you can see. And I have to also point out the font used is nice. I mean, it's definitely easy to read. Let's check that out. And of course, everything is coded. 5.54 extended range, so you know what rules section you're in, as expected from any board game. And nice font and big color. I like it. Just look at that. More samples of the counters. And how many pages is this? And there's lots of tables and charts here. 2 samples of play, I believe. A glossary, which is nice. And I believe there's 2 samples of play, 2 examples of play that are in the back here. That's what this section is right here. And yeah. And if we look at the index here, or the contents I should say, it starts off with the very basics, understanding concepts and outline of play. Then it goes into the turn sequence, which begins with the rally phase, then the operations phase. Then it goes into the details of those elements of the operations phase, such as fire combat, movement, laying smoke, melee combat, and then you get to the final part of a turn, which is the administration phase, cleanup. It's where you remove markers that are no longer useful, informational markers, and so on. Then it starts to get into a little bit more advanced stuff, you could say. So if you're just learning this game, this is what you want to read first, and you're good. Everything else after this, after the section 9, you're getting into the details of line of sight, which that is kind of essential. Single-man counters, SMCs, as well as skills that might apply to them, national characteristics. Then, right about from here, ordnance on down, this would be like your scenarios that use artillery and vehicles and indirect fire, aircraft, night combat, fortification. So you see it's kind of like the more advanced section of the game, although I don't believe it calls them advanced rules. I don't think there's a basic and advanced game, but the way it's structured in the rule book, you're kind of learning the basics and adding more as you go. So yeah, that's nice. I like the layout and the way the contents is laid out. And fortunately, each section really is not that big. It's not that complex. And I read quite a bit of this, and I'm actually ready to go with this. And that was after about a half an hour of just looking through the basics of the rules. And yeah, quite impressed with that. So this is the rule book. There's a nice outline of play on the back. In fact, you'll see a lot of tables like this scattered throughout that are going to be really useful as you're playing and learning the game. So there you go. That's your rule book. And you'll see this very same rule book in any of the World War II era sets they have. And the more modern ones like Vietnam and such will have basically the same rules, but it has the more modern stuff. Like you're going to find helicopters and stuff in that other rule book. Still version 4.1, or you can get the version 5 rule book, which has all of it compiled in one rule book. And again, you could buy that separately. You can get it as a PDF or a hard copy. So once again, to clarify that. And yes, I did dig into this earlier, so the contents are a little out of sequence here. Let's jump to this one. This is your second book. This is Heroes of the Motherland, Lock and Load Tactical System, Module Rules and Scenarios. The campaign is also in here. And every boxed game you get for this series is going to have a booklet like this. This is all your scenarios, and any special rules that pertain to those particular scenarios will be outlined in here. A little bit on national characteristics, so on and so forth. Again, full color. Look at that beautiful art. Look at that. Nice. Full color, and the font is quite big. There's a lot of period photographs. There, you got one right there. Very nice. This is the standard layout of the scenarios, where it gives you the orders of battle, the map, the deployment, scenario length, and victory conditions, as well as special rules, so on and so forth. So there you go, and there's a whole bunch of scenarios in here. Let's check out the contents, in fact, and there you go. Got your introduction, a little bit about the community and support, Molotov cocktails, terrain markers, national characteristics. Then we get into scenarios. And there's a whole bunch here. You can see them. They start here. Tough as nails. State Farm is there. That's nice. All the way down to Big Cats at Twilight. And then it's got the campaign. And some campaign-specific scenarios, I believe these are. And some random events for your campaign. And yeah, that's quite a few scenarios. Awesome. So that's your scenario book. I don't believe I said how many pages the rule book was. I'll look at that in a second. 55 pages with credits and so on. And again, some extra tables in here. This is for the campaign that's in the back. Get a look at that goodness. 2d6 result effect. Partisan activity. Place 2 times 034 partisan squads and Comrade Alana, anywhere within 4 hexes of the southern edge of the playable area. I guess that applies to a particular scenario that you're playing, random event, not sure. That's pretty cool. Some more counters that you can use as information to remind you, like, oh, this value is this, and that's the range, and that's the movement factor. Little reminders throughout the books of this system, which is nice. And the page count of this rule book, by the way, which I neglected, is 65 pages with credits and glossary in the back. Not bad. Now, this is fun. You get a slew of maps. Can't remember how many there was. Just read it on the back, but look at all that. Now, these are quite small. If you're used to ASL, you'll notice that right away. And I think half of these, or 4 of them, are actually double-sided. Let's take a look. They all fold out like this. So you can put these under your plexiglass, no problem, or use magnets to hold them down. Yeah, double-sided. Look at that. Let's get a close-up here. Oh, got some glare there. Yeah, it's pretty nice detail. And again, you can buy map packs, which basically duplicate these maps, only their hexes, I believe, are like twice as big. Which means you can lay your counters out instead of just stacking them, which is nice. Yeah, these are really nice maps. Look at that. Got the shadows going on. And that's one double-sided. This one is single-sided. Let's see if we can find all the double-sided here. Here's another one. And these are all geomorphic, of course, so you can line them up top to bottom, side to side, depending on the scenario. And again, this is a double-sided one. These seem to feature a lot of buildings. Maybe a little Stalingrad action. Here's a third one that's double-sided. Nice hill. Look at the shading on there. Very nice. And again, these are small. I should actually pause the camera and show you guys how smaller they are compared to, say, ASL. In fact, I'll do that in a minute here, just to show you guys visually what the difference is. Very nice. This is really going to be convenient if your space is limited and the footprint is not going to be so bad as some games can be. Much like ASL, the footprint of ASL is not too bad either. So these are single-sided. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll show one of these. See? Blank, like a snowfield. And look at that. I'm not fond of this. I don't like hedges being in hex shapes like this. But, you know, what are you going to do? A lot of games do that. Not all games. I've seen where they do hexes and walls, and it's actually, you know, looks more realistic. Goes across the hexes. But even then, it might be a problem rules-wise, because usually these block line of sight across hexes or hex sides. So you kind of want to follow the hex sides, and that's why you get this. But it's not a big deal. That's the miniatures gamer side of me coming out. And those red dots distinguish these buildings from those without red dots. Important distinction, as you can see. Look at the shadows going on up there. That reminds me of the Conflict of Heroes maps. Very similar. Where you got the shadows of the trees coming down on the roads. Very nice. And again, all these maps are the same size here. They're geomorphic. They go together in all different configurations. And I like that. And yeah, they are thin. Well, they're not thin. They're thin card. They're not paper. Very much like the ASL maps, if you're familiar with those. I'm going to show you one more, and then we'll do a full count. So yeah, look at that. Very nice indeed. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single-sided maps, and these are all coded. I believe that's 47 and 48, so they're all coded, so you know what map is what. And you get 4, I believe, double-sided. So it's like 8 additional maps. Fantastic. All right, so let's lay a couple of these out side by side with some starter kit ASL maps. All right, so there you go. This is an ASL Starter Kit 1 map, single-sided. And here is... I'll put it right on top and show you. There you go. So here's an ASL map. And here is a lock and load map. And a little smaller than twice as big. Line them up there in the bottoms. That would be half the size right there, and it's not. And I got some major glare going on. Yeah, so 2 of them together would definitely be bigger than the ASL map. But there you go. That's what it looks like. And the hexes, I should point out, on these lock and load maps are much bigger compared to the ASL ones, as you can see. And there you go. Also a lot more realistic looking, actually. It's got the nice dark tone going on. This looks much more brighter. But yeah, if that makes a difference to you, there you go. So yeah, that's a ASL map compared to a lock and load map. So there it is. So that's that comparison. Let's see what else we got going on here. That's quite a few maps, a lot of scenarios, folks. And let's see what we got next. That is going to be the counters. And I do have to say, these counters are fantastic. Yes, sir, indeed. This is informational stuff here. You got barbed wire, shaken status, melee, fired, assault move. Whatever units on the table do things, you mark them. Like if they fire. Ops complete. They do something besides move and fire, I believe. Smoke markers. There's smoke 1, smoke 2. You just flip it. Smoke 2 are removed at the end of the turn. And let's check out these guys. Like photographs there. Erratic, preempt, assaulter, versatile, speedy. These must be skills, I'm thinking, for heroes. And it looks like turrets. Place on the vehicles. There's wrecks. That's nice. I know Conflict of Heroes doesn't actually come with wrecks. Storms of Steel might. That's the current game in the system, just released, I think, a month or 2 ago. And that might have wrecks for the vehicles included. I'm not sure. It should. Covers the Battle of Kursk, Operation Citadel. But yeah. Heroes of the Motherland, lock and load. Don't know if that's got a game use. Yeah. pretty cool. Rebel markers, buttoned up. Spotted, mines, smoke 2. Spotting round, upper level. Yeah, there is a little guy up there shooting out the window. A couple little guys. That's pretty cool. I like that. Very nice. Nice star shell marker. See the silhouette late at night of a pine tree. Very nice. So that's one. That's mostly informational. We got a unit mix here. I love these tanks. Got the camo going on these. MG42s, MG34s. So yeah, this, by the way, covers the entire Eastern Front. So you're going to see a mix of 34s and 42s and such. 75 millimeter ATGs. Got your packs there. Of course, you got the SS in black. Again, a la ASL, something we're all familiar with. I really get the impression, since I'm new to this system, I really get the impression that this system is attempting to be everything that ASL is not. It's hard to imagine what ASL is not, because it is so inclusive in its rules and its coverage of the war. Becomes a little bit unwieldy. But I think this game system is attempting to make a game that's more playable, but have as much depth as, or attempts to have as much depth as ASL, but be much funner and quicker to play, great for the novice, and so on and so forth. This is interesting here. You can see a little cracking along the hex paper here. That's interesting. Make sure that hasn't affected any of the counters. It doesn't look like that. And that's from the paper, I guess, they're using on these. They all look fine. It's just where they come up over this bump in the card where you see that. Interesting. But otherwise, the quality is top-notch. I'm not seeing any flaws or cut-off information on the counters. These are the flipped shaken sides. Getting back to the ASL comparison, it's like it plays very similar, like in many ways. Like, for instance, shaken is indicated by flipping the counter. That's something you do in ASL. And you got the weapons that are attached to units. As you can see, they're separate. And of course, the separate turrets, and of course, the leaders, which are separate. This game also has heroes, which is interesting. And, well, it is a tactical game, so I guess there would be a lot of the same thing. They're both attempting to do the same thing, right? But this game is, I think, a little bit easier on the brain. I mean, I consider myself an ASL fan as a casual player. I'm not a fanatic about the system because it is quite involving and requires a dedicated mind, if you know what I'm saying. Focus. And of course, I do a lot of different things in my hobby, and it's next to impossible for me to do. This game will be nice. Nice to sit and play quite a bit of, in fact. You can see that the vehicle counters are a little bit bigger. You got a nice mix of 5/8 inch counters in here. 3/4. Are these 1 inch? I don't think they are. They might be. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of informational stuff. You got light woods, forest. I'm not sure what these are for. I guess to change up your terrain on the maps. Excellent. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a very enjoyable experience. Especially with the slew of scenarios I got. Flames. Dastardly flames. And I did mention in a previous video there was a shine to these. Actually, there isn't. They're actually quite matte. So, yeah, there's no real shine to these. Partisans. You got the Russians. These, of course, are their values. You got your range, firepower, movement. I believe that's a morale. Again, very similar to ASL. I don't want to sound like I'm putting ASL down. You know, I am a big fan, especially with the starter kits. You know, starter kits are awesome. But I am a fan of World War II tactical games, particularly ASL, Conflict of Heroes, the starter kits for ASL, And lock and load. I am sure. This is right up my alley. It looks like it's got a lot more potential for narrative and storytelling, which you would imagine there would be, considering it's not as heavy in the rules department as, say, ASL would be. For a casual player, you're more focused on the rules, the factors, and the math than you are actually what's going on and what's the story here. And, you know, this type of game would allow you to do just that, since it's not so heavy in the rules department. But that's something I don't think you would really notice once you actually start playing. It'll feel with as much depth as an ASL game. So, yeah, interesting. I'm interested to see how this will play out on the table. So once again, counters perfectly set within their little perimeters here. They'll punch out nice and easy. Yeah, so there they are. And that's the 4 counter sheets. I believe there's 4. Satchel charges, more shaken, and of course the initiative turn marker. I believe there's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's their 6? Well, that's the ones I have out. So let's pop these back in here. Now, I got this video out of the way, I'll be able to pop them and start playing. So, yeah. And of course, I'm going to get back to you folks, share my experiences with you. One more look at the maps. Fantastic. For the price, especially the discounted price. And it is really a nice looking game. Quality is top notch. And, you know, look at that. Full color, easy to read. You got a nice big font, color coded. I believe the blue text means previous version, version 3 or whatever it was. I believe it tells you in the beginning here, somewhere in there. And again, this is a standard 2d6 game. You don't need any other special dice. And look at this, rules reference table. That's going to be useful. And I believe the PDF of version 5 is free. There's also a starter kit to get you started with this. They also have separate downloads you can get and hard copies you can purchase of all the tables for this game. And that's something I haven't showed you yet. There's a bunch of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I believe they're all different. There might be one duplicate in here, but I don't think so. Let's look at this one. Heroes of the Motherland lock and load system. Defensive fire table. Damage fire table. I think it's damage fire table. I don't remember. And there's your terrain effects chart. And all the things that can happen with even a map example. That's nice. So they're really taking care of you if you're new to the system. So that's fantastic. Unit counters are also included in what they represent, like bunkers, mines, rubble, smoke. The target modifier, your shot would be modified by. Very, very interesting. And DFT die roll modifiers. Ordnance fire table. And again, folks, once I start playing this, I'm going to show you guys a little bit how the system works. I think that's the least I can do. So there is that table. This table here is another reference. This is, looks like orders of battle. Cannot lay smoke. This must be national characteristics. What they can and cannot do. SS fanaticism, which does this. Shaken units attempt to rally when melee begins. Failed units eliminate. I think. I'm not sure what this is. Ooh, nurses. Cool. Soviet Commissar. Molotov cocktail. Special weapons. Satchel charges, Soviet forces. Each rally phase, 1 Soviet hex gets +1 morale, I believe. I'm not sure what this is. And of course, this is always useful. Shows you what is what. Icon legend. And, oh, look at that. Stacking limits. Wow, this is very useful. A little bit confusing. There's a lot of stuff to look at here, but it should all click in your head after you give a once over the rules, know what these tables are for. And sequence of play. Well, that's pretty obvious what that is. See, there's not a heck of a lot to it. You got your rally, operations, administrative phase. That tells you what to do in each of those cases. You're in the rules section. Operations phase is rules of 4. Administrative, rules section 9. So that's nice. I was just going to say, where's the page numbers? That would be useful, but yeah, it's right there. The rules references are there. Shooting, overruns, spotting, melee attacks, and some shooting stuff. Look at all that goodness. And some of the counters units have tables on the back of the counter, which is important, an important distinction. Yeah, so there's that. We got 3 more. We got a campaign card, which is for the campaign. I think I showed you this. Partisan activity, yeah. And a campaign card, bridgehead. These are the scenarios you would play, and I guess you keep track of certain things in those boxes. Very interesting. And 2 more cards. This one is your standard turn track. You put your turn track on here, up to 20. Wow. Optional speed moves, vehicle types, casualties. And, of course, this would be laid down next to your maps as you're playing, so you can keep track of your turns and some optional vehicle stuff that might come in handy, and casualties, as you can see. So that would come into play a lot. And then we have this skill reference card. There is a skill system, which really makes it stand out as a system. Heroes and such can have skills, and this describes what those skills are, like Speedy, Versatile, Slayer, Rocket Man, the Ambush. Interesting stuff, folks. And some nice art. And what's on the inside? More skills, of course. And erratic. Leader, single use, utilize this skill when combat results call for a damage check, which is a DC. Roll 1d6. If the result is even, neither the leader nor the units in the hex take a DC, a damage check, that stands for. If the result is odd, the leader and the units in the hex take double the initial DC. Example, if the original DC was DC 2, the DC would become DC 4. And final bullet point, if a hero possesses this skill, it only applies to him. So, too bad, you others. Die Hard. Very cool. All right. So you have that. That's like a reference for skills that apply. So you got that. You got the turn sequence that you can use in every game. Campaigns. You've got a sequence of play with shooting and combat. This is all shooting, I think. Yeah, all shooting reference modifiers or something on there. And this is just a general reference to the flow of special rules, flow of the game, maybe? No. Stacking limits, morale checks, low crawl, extended range, assault movements in the rule book. And, of course, you got your terrain effects chart and your DFT table, Dft Modifiers. And this is basically what you roll for when a stack is hit. Each unit makes a damage check, a DC. And the results of that are referenced on this. It's basically a D6 plus the difference between the attacker's die roll and the defender's die roll. That total is looked up on here, and then it tells you a result based on the unit type, I believe. So it can result in shaken, which the unit is flipped. Casualties, takes casualties. Shaken, wounded for single-man counters, and so on. See how quick I picked that up? You know, I only gave once over the beginning sections of the rules. See, I got it. So, yeah, if you could pick this up that quick, it's worth looking into, folks. This is going to be fun. I can't wait. So look forward to this, maybe before the end of the year, I would hope. But you never know. Maybe sooner than that. Or maybe next year. We'll see. I have a lot of things going at the moment. But this is something I wasn't sure I was going to buy at all. It was really because of that... oops. Really because of that sale that they had. So kudos to Lock and Load Publishing. You suckered another Wargamer. But it looks fantastic, folks. I kind of get the impression initially that this is going to be very enjoyable, whether you're playing solo or with a friend. yeah, so I'm excited to play it and get it on the table. So stay tuned for that. So far, folks, really impressed. Quality is top notch. It's definitely worth the $50. Whether it's worth 80, I would say so, considering the quality of the product. And I believe that's about the normal price for this. I think it's like 80 something USD. I would say it would be worth it for what you get in this. But you know what? I can't really review this until I actually play it a few times. So who's to say? I mean, it might be a dud. I highly doubt it, folks. Highly doubt it. But there it is, folks. Hope you enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe. Leave me some comments. Do you like tactical level World War II games? Do you prefer miniatures over board games? How about the graphics? What do you think of them? Look at that. Are you an old Lock and Load pro, an ASL fanatic? Let me know in the comments what your preferences are and what you would like to see from me next when it comes to this system, Lock and Load. Is it worth buying more expansions? The Falklands, Vietnam, actually sounds pretty interesting. Of course, Western Front. Of course, I've played so much Western Front World War II, I'm kind of giving it a break. But there you go, folks. Again, like, share, and subscribe, and leave me some comments, some feedback about this video. Till next time, my friends, hang in there. It's only going to get better. You guys take care.